The minute you say that you have had a 5-6 year break, they have questions like, oh, why so long? And then I think they become very doubtful about the candidate. Even if the candidate is coming with a good experience and a wholesome experience, they forget that the potential skill set is always going to last.
Hello listeners, my name is Mridvika and this is Just an Ordinary Mom podcast. I really am just an ordinary mom to twin boys with a high-speed career, and this podcast is to tell the stories of ordinary moms doing extraordinary things. Today on my show, I have Neha Madan, coming from a traditional business family in Nashik, an arranged marriage at the age of 22, having twin boys 2 years into her marriage, and then taking a 7-year career break. She always knew that odds were not exactly in her favor. Yet, on account of her sheer will and support from her family, was able to make a comeback into what she calls her second innings. Neha ranked top in her class, clearing CA in her first attempt, was doing really well for herself in corporate career when she had to put brakes on her aspirations as she embraced motherhood. Thankfully, entrepreneurial genes didn't escape her, and she tried her hand at running an events management company through those years. COVID presented her with an opportunity to work remotely that allowed her to return gradually to a full-time job. The road to this place wasn't easy. She had to keep herself motivated while fighting against the biases of employers who suspected her potential and capabilities and intentions for having taken a 7-year-long break. Welcome, Neha.
Hey, Mrid, thanks. Thanks for having me here.
Neha, I want to start by learning a little bit more about your childhood, which is often the first influence that shapes our worldview. So tell me a little bit about your growing years, your parents, neighborhood, and everything in between.
Sure. So I come from a very conservative family, a very traditional joint family with 25 members living there as well. So I come from a very small town called Nashik, which is now not small anymore. But the way I've grown up was a very restricted environment and never got to really explore things beyond school and college. I never got the opportunity to go abroad to study because I got married literally at the age of 22. So that's the kind of setup I come from.
So Neha, you are one of the very few people I know in my network that I know comes from a big joint family on both sides. Starting with your own parents' side of the family, tell me a little bit about strong women influences in your life that helped you form a view of what the role of a woman in the society could be like.
So role models both sides would be my mom and my mother-in-law, the kind of responsibilities they've shouldered being in a joint family. First of all, it's not easy to be with so many women, forget family, but so many women together, handling one kitchen, one house, having different opinions. But the way they have handled situations and handle their temperament, this is one of the things I've learned, to just keep the emotional quotient balance, because that's one thing that'll lead you anywhere, I feel. And I remember my mom didn't really have time to even teach me because she would be constantly busy in the kitchen and the household responsibilities. My grandparents were old, so she had so much on her plate. So I don't remember spending quality time with my mom I get to do with my kids. Coming to my mother-in-law, I always thought it's going to be very different. But today, I would say my mother-in-law is my number one role model. The patience she carries, the grace she carries in handling the whole family together. And I feel over the years, she's not just respected out of fear or anything, but it's more she's commanded that respect and she's earned it over the years. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know that when you were telling me a little bit about how you were able to get back to work, she was one of the strongest pillars and supporters of you getting back to work. Tell me about how did she help you transition from a long break after maternity back into corporate setup?
The first biggest support that she offered was you just go ahead, we'll manage the kids, and that's where you get all the confidence because you know that your kids are going to be in safe hands. And they're going to be well taken care of. And that's how you can be productive at work. Otherwise, you're constantly thinking of what's going to happen at home with the kids. And touch wood, from the beginning, my kids have been very attached to her. So sleeping with her, eating with her, basic odd jobs have been very comfortable with her around. So I didn't have to kind of get them comfortable with each other.
I want to take a segue into education. You come from business families, again, on both sides. Tell me, how did you decide to go on the path of doing your chartered accountancy? And I think you cracked it in the first go.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how did you make that decision?
So honestly, we really didn't have these kind of aptitude tests and all when we were young. It was just like, okay, science, commerce or arts. It would be like these three choices, like unlike what we have nowadays. So like when I gave my 12th, I was the merit holder and my accounts marks were really good, like almost like 2 marks less than what was needed to top. So my tuition teacher just told my dad, I think she should pursue CA because that's like the way ahead for her. And it was very like instantly decided, okay, let's just give it a thought and give it a shot. And I just appeared for the CA entrance. Obviously, I prepared for it and appeared for it. And I just went with the flow. There was no like grilling in my mind that I have to become a CA from the time I took up commerce. Though my dad was very, very keen that I get this degree. But I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. So yeah, I just generally like went with the flow.
Yeah. So, and what were the first few years of your career in finance like? Where did you start working and what did you do over there?
So I started working with Abbott India and I was in the financial reporting department there. So a lot of like finance and accounts in terms of like planning, analysis, variances. It was a global company, so a lot of intercompany accounting that I used to handle. I did it for 2 years and then had to take a break.
Yeah. So tell me about that time. I know you went through a difficult pregnancy, which is why you had to take that break. But what were some of the thoughts that were running in your mind then, given you had become a CA, you were doing so well for yourself in the corporate career as well? What were some of the things that were running in your head when you had to take that decision?
It was a tough decision, but then I was also very clear that I want to have a family before I even like get aggressive about my career. So it was an easy decision, but like it really took something to give up something I had gotten nicely, like 2 years at Abbott. And today Abbott has really grown high. So like if I was with Abbott, I always think that if I was with them now, I would have been at a different stage of my career altogether.
And looking back, it's always easy to connect the dots. And looking back, it's always easy to give reason and rationality to your decisions. But in the moment, did you hesitate? Did you feel that, oh my God, what would it take for me to sort of get back if I choose to come back to career?
Yeah, of course. A lot of thoughts like those came to my mind. But then I also left at a very good note with my bosses saying that I really want to get back to this company whenever I decide to come back. However, today, I don't think I am ready to work in a corporate culture where they're expecting me to like put in like 9-10 hours of work every day. And finance also comes with a lot of pressure and goals and monthly, quarterly, yearly. They have like goals every day. So it's a lot of pressure in terms of working in a finance company. But yeah, so I think that's something I'll always regret.
So Neha, how long were you on the maternity break for, after you left Abbott?
So I took a good 5-year break actually. In the middle of that, I started my own company as well with a friend of mine.
Yeah, tell me about that company. What did it do? I think I'm not surprised because you come from a business family and I think it runs in the blood.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah. So tell me about this business that you started.
Yeah. So like I always feel like my life has not been planned or I've never like chalked down plans for myself. It was literally over a coffee date with a friend and we said, okay, let's do something interesting. Chembur is too boring and nothing is happening around. So we said, let's do something for women, like a fitness fest sorts. And we just like curated the whole event and we had so much response to that. And like we did a couple of informal events around. And then it picked up so well that we actually decided to register the company and like reach out to corporates and other clientele in our personal and professional network. And it's been almost 5 years now. It's still like a passion project for me and we're still doing that.
That's amazing. So it was an events management business that you set up?
Yes.
What kind of events after the first fitness event that you saw really good traction for? What were the other event types that you were doing?
So we did a really nice event called the Petathon, which was like a marathon for pets. And we had a turnaround of about 300 pets on a BKC ground where the pet owners went crazy because we'd set up a carnival with ice creams and candies and accessories and clothes for dogs. So it was a different thing altogether. mother. It was covered in media. And that really kind of gave us a push to like, okay, let's just do this more aggressively because it's definitely leading somewhere. And that's when we actually got into the corporate world. We got into digital marketing and working with brands like Whisper, Nescafe, She the People TV, and more.
That's amazing. And did you start it because you had some time on your hand while you were raising your kids, or was it because you were feeling that you needed adult conversations and you needed to do something more than just being a mother?
Definitely. I've always had this thing of being something more than a mother because I feel like an empty mind is a devil's workshop. I totally believe in this quote and I don't want to be feeling like I'm not doing anything. So it literally was like, okay, let's do something because we should be doing something. We're capable and we have potential. I think every mother comes with a skill set and she can definitely do something.
So when did you then decide that you wanted to get back to working full-time in a company as an employee? Was there a specific trigger or was there a specific individual or individuals that was pushing you towards like, I think the kids are big enough and old enough and you should get back to working?
So I honestly didn't want to rush into something and give my half heart to it. And I wanted to take up something when I'm fully ready, just to be able to do justice both at home and at work. So kids were starting a full-time school and I thought it's the best time to like get into work mode, and where they'll be in school and I'll be at work could be a good balance for both of us. And thanks to COVID, there were so many opportunities for like remote working and we could work from home and not have to go to office every day. So which is when I actually like put myself out there hunting for a job. And trust me, it wasn't as easy because the long gap, the minute you mention a long gap, there is a bias in the interviews.
What was some of the biggest obstacles that you had to face as you decided that you wanted to return back? Let's first talk about from the employer's point of view, and then we'll talk about what were the other challenges you faced on the home front. But let's talk about what were some of the biases that you had to really break through.
So, I mean, the minute you say that you have had a 5-6 year break, they have questions like, oh, why so long? And then I think they become very doubtful about the candidate. Even if the candidate is coming with a good experience and a wholesome experience, they forget that the potential skill set is always going to last. So, for example, I feel that my degree was a good thing for me to break into the market again. Having a qualification in the market is really important. Otherwise, it's you really have to struggle further. I feel my struggle was not as much because of the qualification that I come with.
And how did it make you feel? Because I'm sure your friends and your peers who continued to work, they must have achieved a certain level of position, designation, financial independence and whatnot. How did that make you feel when you wanted to re-enter the job market?
So honestly, I know my friends and my peers who have bought their own houses or bought their own cars and assets while I'm still getting back into the market. So it definitely is a bit demoralizing. And also the negotiation skills on the salary part really go low because you're joining after so long, and the urgency is to just get something in hand, even if it's not my field or my skill set that I had. But I just took it up because I said, okay, let me just get it somewhere and then I'll see where it's leading me. So yeah, that's a big compromise, I would say, for women who are getting back to work after a long time.
Any piece of advice you'd love to give employers as they review, interview candidates who are coming back after a maternity break, an extended one at that?
Absolutely. I feel that if you like a candidate, don't judge a woman because she's taken a break or she's not worked for so long. Just if you like her, just give her an opportunity and don't be biased at all.
And now shifting gears in terms of how you had to prepare people around you in the family to get back to a job after so long. I think your kids had never seen you as a full-time employee anywhere else. Obviously for your husband, your extended family. How did you prepare them, when you decided that you will be unavailable to them for 7 to 8 hours in a day?
Yeah. So initially it was a bit difficult for me for about 2 months just to make sure that, I was trying to still balance out because I was trying to be with them during lunch and dinner timing. So at least they know that I'm still there, just to make them feel that way. However, it wasn't that tough because others in the family, other women in the family are also working. So it makes life easy for me because they've seen them also not being around.
And how did your spouse support with this transition?
Oh, he's been an incredible support for me because we would like literally time our lunches and dinners. So when I was out, he would be like, okay, I'll be home to make sure the kids are eating well, because also my mom-in-law is old and I can't expect her to be like with them all the time and take care of these odd jobs. But yeah, he was like, and like even like dropping them to classes and stuff when I'm not around. These are all small odd jobs which take a lot of commitment from both parents, I feel. So it was a big support and he's played a major role for me to get back to work actually.
That's amazing. And just so that you know, that's more of an exception than a norm because the way men are conditioned, as long as it's not affecting their job, they're okay with women going out and working. And so it's really good that you got that support and real partnership in that sense. And which is also a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is you're raising twin sons who are now 8-year-olds.
That's my favorite topic. I don't think this time will be enough for me to talk about.
I can tell you from my own experience as a mother to boys that we carry a huge responsibility to start the conversation around inclusion, diversity, equal distribution of work at home, respect, empathy, and consent, right? How are you discussing these really important topics with your sons?
So there are very few times where I'm actually discussing these topics. I think like doing it with them really makes a difference. Like putting yourself as an example in front of them when it comes to respect, the way we talk to our parents at home and to the younger generation at home. I feel that they see it and they just like ape you in everything you're doing. And when the lockdown happened, I feel that was a great time to actually including them in work in terms of like distributing responsibilities. We don't have a nanny anymore because in lockdown, we had like literally asked all the maids to go back. And it's your turn to like shut the toys up and, you know, let's clean the room together. They would see their daddy ironing clothes and mama cleaning the room. So I think it just came very naturally to them to be a part of this. And they knew that, okay, we are not here to just chill. And also like we need to like join hands and doing work together.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that you are involved with? Because I know you're a really involved mother as well. What are some of the activities that you continue to do with your boys?
Oh, so the best thing that I've taught them is like to self-entertain. I have entertained them so much in the last 5 years. And I feel that, okay, now that I'm getting into a full-time job, I've just like told them, okay, you need to like self-entertain because boredom is a thing nowadays. And as you know, like every kid keeps saying that I'm bored. So I said, okay, let's just get over that word and just do things. So they love to do like Lego and they do a bit of art, and reading books is something that's a habit that I'm really blessed that my kids have, because like for 2 hours they will be reading books. Like every night we would not sleep without reading a book. So I think it just became such a part of their life that today they won't go to sleep without reading a book.
And as you were getting back to work, right, like obviously and understandably that your time that was available with kids reduced. How did you convince yourself to stop feeling guilty about that? And how did you explain to the kids that their mother will now have a conflicting demand on her time?
Yeah, so that's a conversation I had to have. I told them, oh, I've got a job and I'm going to be going. Thankfully, my job didn't demand like a full attendance. So once a week I would be going. But I literally had to plan the day intricately, like writing on their board as to what needs to be done, what time they have to be attending classes. So a lot of back-end work that goes when a mom is supposed to be at work. I think it took a few weeks for them to get comfortable with the idea that mom's not going to be around. But they were very, very supportive, because also I think it helps because we have a huge family. So someone or the other is there to be around.
And how do you find time for yourself? Because, you know, as a mother, after you've played many, many roles like wife, a daughter-in-law, how have you found time for yourself so that you feel that Neha is more than just a role?
Well, I would say by sacrificing sleep. I've literally become a night owl, and like literally when after kids sleep, I want to like catch up with people, watch my Netflix shows, chit chat on the phone, call over people. Like, you know, my source of energy is like, okay, when I meet my set of people or do things that I like to do, that's how I have found time for myself.
I also want to touch upon the dark side of motherhood, because often we celebrate the rainbows and unicorns, but we often forget that after we become a mother, there's a part of us that's never going to be the same. So I wanted to understand, because you went through this difficult pregnancy, how did that change you as a person, Neha?
I think I would say like I've become so much more patient. When I delivered, first of all, it was like a 3-month prior delivery. So which came like a big shocker, and with a lot of nervousness and with a lot of guidance coming in from everywhere. I was so nervous and scared about how things are going to be, because literally the doctor told us like for 72 hours, don't even declare that you've had twins. What has changed is like I feel that my faith in God. I was a religious person only because I think I've seen my parents into prayers and all, but that's when I actually thought that, okay, prayers do work, and I went really high on my belief in God. And also like just, I feel that me and my husband, we've had an arranged marriage. So as a personal relationship, we bonded much stronger after this whole episode happened with us. So yeah, I would say that was a turning point for us as well as a couple.
Neha, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to another woman who wants to have a career while feeling that she's a reasonably successful mother if she chooses to be one?
I would say don't rush into anything unless you're 100% prepared. So you'll never be 100% prepared, but I would generally say like otherwise you'll only be on guilt trips. So just make sure that your kids are very, very comfortable and you are okay with a strong support at home. And I would say just take what's coming your way. Don't be very, very rigid about what you want, because once you get there, it'll be very easy to go ahead.
Amazing. Thank you, Neha. That was a lovely piece of advice. And that was the episode of Just an Ordinary Mom podcast. Thank you so much, Neha, for taking the time to be on the show. If you are an ordinary mom or know someone who could benefit from listening to this podcast, do share it with them. This podcast was recorded at Manic Pod Studios in Chembur, Mumbai. Our sound engineer is Shrey Tiwari and our producer is Vedant Nayak. Thanks for listening.